Alright, so one thing I always try to do is to make these philosophy videos. But anyway, I want to talk about ethics and change over time. So there's a particular problem I noticed with religion when it comes to very specific moral rules, is that they made sense at the time, but they don't make sense anymore. So my general idea is that very specific moral rules are mutable and you should be able to change them or get rid of them anytime you want, whenever society changes. But very general moral principles can actually be made into something eternal. So the religious rule against eating pork may have made sense in a time in which the technology wasn't all that great when it came to making sure that pork was clean. But our technology is really great now. You can trust pork products not to kill you. Also, the whole obsession with virginity and not having sex before marriage, that made sense in a pre-birth control, pre-safe abortion age, where it was just really crappy to have unplanned pregnancies. And on top of that, back then, inheriting property was more of a thing. Like now, only like rich people worry about inheritance, but the normal person doesn't have to worry about it, because we don't live on farms anymore. When you live on a farm and you own cattle and livestock and all this like crops, it matters a whole lot who inherits what. So whether or not a particular son is legitimately your son or not is like a really big deal. But that doesn't really matter to the modern world, and we have birth control now. So that is a very specific moral rule which can change and should change. We should give up our virginity obsession. But very general rules, what's great about very general rules is that you can adapt them very well to almost any situation, any society at any time. So a very general moral rule, which I think has more of an eternal aspect to it, would just be the general rule of don't murder. See, don't murder is general enough to where there's not going to be a situation in which that can apply somehow. And there's not going to be a situation in which you can't figure out how it would apply in this situation. So I suppose I'm a bit redundant there, but for instance, in a far, far future, we're eventually going to have to ask the question, when does destroying this artificial intelligence count as murder? When is this artificially intelligent being intelligent enough to where deactivating this robot, this android, would actually constitute murder? So see, so the idea of don't murder is general enough to where it adapts along with the times. As the times change, the general rule of don't murder changes and keeps up and has that eternal, always true, forever and ever quality to it that a specific moral rule like don't eat pork just doesn't have that eternalness. Don't have pork, or don't eat pork, or don't have sex before marriage is a moral rule which just does not live forever and ever. It's going to die out by technology, either by better cleaning processes when making pork products or the invention of birth control. So yeah, I can go into even more in depth in terms of like utilitarianism. So like it may have had utility at one point to not have sex before marriage and not eat pork, but that utility is gone now because of technology. But the utility of promoting the rule in society that you shouldn't murder will always have utility forever, and it can't be unimportantized, I suppose you could say, with technology. Except for maybe in some situation in which everyone's immortal. But in that sense, you can't really murder anyone, because people, I don't know, when they die, their brain goes into a new body, or their mind goes into a new body. Information. Which sounds crazy, but that could happen in the far, far future. We don't know what humanity is going to look like in 1,000 years. But anyway, yeah. I don't want to. If I go any further, it'll sound too rambly. So all I can really say next is that it is not good to see your moral rules in terms of commands from a god, because you need to be able to change with your situation And the idea of rules from a god is that they never change ever. So you'll end up with crazy situations where something made sense in the past, but doesn't make any sense anymore. There's also the Kantian idea that through reason you can come up with eternal rules, but then at that point too, very likely the moral rules you'll come about through reason, through like a Kantian type system, would still probably be pretty general to begin with, and then in the end as well. So that is all. Goodbye.